Post-harvest, we're going to be looking at anhydrous season, and everything works better with a little rain. Crops are just drying out so fast. What's not, already dry, it is just going to keep drying faster. Haven't had a lot of rain. Beans are really dry right now. We haven't had a lot of rain since really the 3rd or 4th week of July, depending on what exactly area we're talking about. But we haven't had any rain, measurable rain, until last week. Some areas got up to like 1.5 inches, and in some areas got a couple tenths. It just kind of depends. Which honestly, even 1.5 inches, 2 inches doesn't go very far when we're as dry as we are. The ground soaked it up real quick. I know some guys kind of got out of beans there for a day or two. Post harvest, we're going to be looking at anhydrous season, and everything works better with a little rain. Crops are just drying out so fast. What's not, already dry, it is just going to keep drying faster. It's hot too during the day. We do get a little moisture to come up at night, but like last night I was down to cutting like 8% beans at like 7, 8 o'clock at night. And then this morning they were up to like 13%. So that's pretty normal. We get later in the season, and too much of this swelling and drying situation in the beans gets hard on the seed coats. It gets difficult for seed varieties quality wise, but it is what it is. We had this last year and it was kind of like a once in a lifetime fall. Well, we're experiencing that again this year, and I hope this isn't the new norm. I hate harvesting beans at 8-9%. Much under 13 really just sucks. You get, as a farmer, you miss out on the opportunity to sell water. We sell by the weight is what we're selling, and so anything under 13%, you don't get 13%, you don't get docked for, and so any notch under 13 that we are, we're just missing out on the opportunity to sell that extra water weight. So that kind of sucks, but it is what it is. We've been pleasantly surprised with bean yields this year for not having any rain in July and August. We're just shocked. I need to tell my cart driver to go up to the next combine. You can just zip around with the Kinsey carts they're just quick moving now. The 2,000 bushel carts on the 9RX tractors, they just don't get up and go quite as quick. It feels like there's a little more like lag time. They're just slow, and I don't love it. But we did have an 8RX on 2,000 bushel cart last year. It did have a Steinbauer chip in it, and it worked. But we're in fairly flat territory, and then if we would go through any kind of a little dip or waterway and you were full, I mean, you better not be anything less than full throttle, because you wouldn't make it. So it wasn't ideal, probably a little tougher on the tractor, but once you get used to it, it's always what you're used to, right? But the 2,000 bushel carts are so efficient. We're able to load 2 trucks at a time. They unload fast. The Kinseys were a little bit of a shorter auger, didn't have as much mobility. You pretty well had to be perfectly lined up with the truck, and then if you're trying to reach over any kind of much of a ditch, it got sketchy at times. With these, the avalanches, there's so much reach. Usually I end up getting, when I'm running it, I end up a little bit closer than what I probably need to be. Just I'm used to running the Kinseys, but that's just our take. Kind of intrigued. You know, we used to always think there's no way we would ever need a 2,000 bushel cart. But now after running them, we're like, this is sweet, so much more efficient, so much faster. You don't have to move. You don't have to, you know, the auto car operators aren't as stressed. It is just better for everybody. So leading into, you know, those 3,000 bushel carts that are now out, we're like, you know what, I can't see how we would ever need that. But we said that about the 2,000 bushel cart too, so never say never, I guess, but interested to kind of watch those work and hear, you know, if some of the people that we know utilize them. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. If that would be more efficient, I'll be interested to kind of watch those over the next few years and see how that plays out. Also, you know, there's some new. We looked at the J&M cart at Farm Progress Show. Kind of interesting. Interesting cart. They've got some new technology right now. We utilize Scale Tech and Reap to track all of our loads. It ties into our scale system on the carts. Kind of intriguing that J&M's program, you know, it kind of helps monitor, you know, where you're running your RPMs at, unloading you can kind of monitor just a little bit more, like have more control, make sure you're handling the equipment like it should be, from optimization, longevity standpoint, maintenance, those kinds of things. It keeps track of all that for you, I believe. Keeps track of your loads. And then also you can set what you want your weights to, so it'll start closing the gate for you, so there's no like guesswork or, oh, I didn't, you know, nobody is going to forget to shut the gate. I think that's really cool. You know, loading trucks evenly can be a challenge at times, especially when you're loading 2 trucks. That first truck, it's just a matter of seconds before you get yourself into a troubled situation or you're overfilling a truck. Yes, the seats swivel around, but still, I mean, the first few days of me running a cart each fall, my back's a little bit sore from twisting until I kind of get acclimated to that. So I don't know, intriguing. There's a lot of different options out there. Everybody does it a little bit different. Always looking to improve, become more efficient, better equipment. We'll see where we go from here.